Okay, this channel has been doing well for so long, so I'm stepping in and I'm taking over. First, we're going to recut the intro of the video, then we're going to add more lights, then we're going to change this, and we're going to change that. Oh yeah. Hey everybody, it's just me, Rob. I'm trying to do an impression of a movie executive for you guys. Welcome to R&B Reviews. You know, once in a while I will read an article somewhere that talks about a movie I have never heard of before, or a suggestion pops up in my feed, and sometimes these movies intrigue me so much that I seek them out, and then after I see them, I try to share the movie's existence with others. And the movie I am going to do that with is S.O.B, a 1981 satirical black comedy about the movie industry. It is written by Blake Edwards, who made the successful Pink Panther comedies with Peter Sellers back in the 1960s and 70s, as well as 10 and The Party. It stars a who's who cast of Julie Andrews, Richard Mulligan, Robert Preston, Larry Hagman, Robert Vaughn, Robert Webber, Laura Swift, Shelley Winters, and William Holden in his final film role. Richard Mulligan plays Felix Farmer, who is a surrogate for Blake Edwards. Felix is an extremely successful Hollywood producer whose movies for Capitol Pictures have never lost money. That is until his latest, most expensive movie to date, Night Wind, ends up being a major flop and almost bankrupts the studio. As such, the studio executive, David Blackman, played by Robert Vaughn, turns on Felix and wants to take over creative control of the movie and re-edit it to lessen the damage. And to make matters worse for Felix, his wife Sarah Miles, played by Julie Andrews, decides she wants to divorce Felix as she struggles to try and get away from her G-rated family-friendly film image. Felix finally stumbles upon an idea to get him out of his depression. He tries to salvage his career by reshooting the movie as an erotic production where its family-friendly star Sally takes off her top. S.O.B, which stands for Standard Operational Bullshit, refers to misinformation being the norm. It is a bitter attack on the movie studio system and how Hollywood is a backstabbing place where people are only worried about what's going on in their movie bubble and not what is happening in the real world. And as long as you have a hit, you are allowed creative control and left alone. But heaven forbid your films flop and the people who run the studio step in and try to ensure that the movie is a hit, but oftentimes the final cut of the film ends up being worse than what you had to start with. Now, how many times in recent years have we, the moviegoers, have heard stories of productions being in trouble and then the movie comes out and it ends up being a bad movie anyhow, despite attempts to try to rectify problems? The movie also tackles public images and how it is different from the personality of the real person versus the screen personality. For example, Julie Andrews' character wants to divorce Felix, but her agent and publicist have a meeting with her telling her that it's just not a good time.
In my opinion, you could not have picked a worse time.
As your press agent, I agree with her, but it wouldn't be a good time if Night Wind was a big hit.
Like it or not, and you're the first to admit it, sweetie. You have an image.
And they have their newspapers to sell. Imagine what they're going to say after they've finished all the nice things they write about you.
Oh, you know this town, sweetie. You can smoke dope and end up going steady with your Afghan. You're just one of the gang. But you're Peter Pan.
S.O.B is full of great back and forth dialogue, and I thought there were a lot of entertaining characters. Like, my favorites included William Holden as Felix's calm director, Robert Preston as the cynical Dr. Irving, who is often called onto sets and in the homes of stars to give them injections to help with their anxieties, although sometimes during the movie I wondered if he just throws random concoctions together in his injections.
Hi, Doc, how is he?
Hey, Ben.
How is he?
Why is it nobody ever asks how the doctor is first? Did it ever occur to you that I could be sicker than the patient?
Irving, I'm sorry, okay?
Felix will survive, but for all you know, I might be terminal. Thank God I'm not a surgeon.
Julie Andrews I thought was great as Sally Miles, and Robert Vaughn was terrific as the arrogant, oily, backstabbing movie executive, which was based on Robert Evans, who ran Paramount in the early 70s and released hits like The Godfather and Chinatown under his reign. But this particular movie was based on a true incident where Edwards was making Darlin' Lil for Paramount and it ended up being a flop, and Evans stepped in and took away the picture from Edwards and recut it. The characters that I really didn't like was Robert Webber as the press agent. I found his performance to be kind of forced whenever he is in a situation where he has to cover for Felix or ends up trying to hide something and freaks out. I felt like he was a little bit too over the top.
I remember this scene in The Thing.
There was this horrible monster on the other side of the wall.
Shut up, those squirrels!
Mulligan as Felix I thought was fine, but sometimes he could be over the top as well. I enjoyed S.O.B, but I didn't really love it. I think it's because I had seen other movie satires like The Stuntman with Peter O'Toole, which I have reviewed on the channel, and Robert Altman's satirical film noir The Player much, much better. And while I enjoyed the characters and the dialogue, I did find some of it to be a bit wordy and the pacing of the movie to be just okay. There were times where I laughed, and sometimes I felt like I was missing out on stuff. And I also felt like some of the tone was a little bit all over the place. Like, for example, some characters like William Holden's character and Robert Vaughn's were more subtle, while Mulligan and Weber were more broad and over the top. That might have worked well with comedies like, The Pink Panther, but I felt like for a satire like this, I felt like it was just a little bit jarring. S.O.B was released in July of 1981 with critical opinion of the film sharply divided. The screenplay was nominated for both a Writers Guild of America Award for Best Comedy, written directly for the screen, and a Razzie Award for Worst Screenplay. It was also nominated for a Razzie for Worst Director and a Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture Comedy Musical. Despite some of my reservations on S.O.B, I recommend giving it a look. I think there were some satirical moments that are relevant in the movie world today, and there are some interesting characters and colorful dialogue, but for me it was just a little bit inconsistent. But still, I would say if you're interested in movies that satirize the Hollywood movie system, or you like dark comedies or satires, I would say this one might be up your alley to look into. Alright, well that's my review on S.O.B. If you have seen the movie, what did you think? Please post your comments in the comment box below. And does this movie interest you at all? Is it something you might want to check out? And please post your thoughts on that as well. And is there any other movies that you have seen that satirizes the movie industry? You can put those in the comment box as well, and maybe if I haven't seen or heard of them, I might check them out as well. And also, feel free to check out other movie reviews on this channel. Like I said, I reviewed The Stuntman already for this channel, which I highly recommend. There's all kinds of movies you can watch at home, as well as in the theaters. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.